Welcome to Isn't It Obvious, where things are obvious. That's going to be the intro.
Hello, and welcome to Isn't It Obvious? This is your host, Micah, with Sera and Phil.
Hi.
And today's topic, isn't it obvious that anyone who claims to be an artist doesn't have the right to do so unless someone calls them an artist?
Is this one of those cases where it's like anyone who says and declares they're a king is no king?
Like that guy who declared himself king in that whatever city. They called him he was the emperor of the world or something like that. I don't know.
But anyone who has to express authority, I am authority, it's
Right, no,
wait a minute
I mean,
here, why are you
yes
saying
and
that?
no.
I played a D&D character just like that.
It is pretty great.
It's pretty great.
But it's to the point that anyone can participate in creating art. Anyone can participate in producing art. But the actual title of artist needs to have more qualifications to it.
Like it's your job description?
Well, no, because I feel there's a difference between producing art and creating art.
True.
Creating a product is not in itself artistic, though it takes artistic skills to produce that product.
Sure.
Would you consider a really tasty pastry or bread to be art?
Artisan.
Right.
Right, but that's the other thing. What its act of creation itself constitutes art. If I make a loaf of bread, if you make a loaf of bread, if Sera makes a loaf of bread, are we artists by making this thing?
Not if it turns out like a brick.
That's me.
Or me.
What if it's
Just
something
need the
like...
yeast
But
to do
it's
that.
because there are creativity. There are certainly chefs that are artists, and their medium is food. But I couldn't slap bread together and cut it up and be like, it's art, eat my art, kind of thing, because nobody is giving me authority to say I'm an artist.
Okay, how about...
I'm only saying I'm an artist.
I don't know. I feel like the term artist is a little wishy-washy.
Right, so...
I hate most artists.
But what will be the definition of that
I
artist?
am.
You are an official artist.
I am.
But what's the difference between artist or graphic designer in your line of work?
Well, I graphic design when I am creating art file that isn't my creation, but a customer might supply a JPEG or something really garbagey, the size of a postage stamp that I need to recreate because it's garbage and I need to make it better so we can print it and it looks good when it gets produced. So that would be graphic design. Or the art side of things, the creative side of things would be me getting a job where they're like, hey, we want to do this event. We kind of want to do a pirate theme or something. Could you just kind of put our event name and then maybe a pirate ship and some waves and some cool tentacles with a kraken or something in there? I'd be like, yeah, I can do that. And then,
But is that you being
it.
artistic or you creating a product?
Both, because I am taking some creative license. I might actually, from the ground up, I might draw those octopus tentacles going and ship out. That would be more on the art side.
You would consider yourself in this situation to be an artist?
Sure.
Why the hesitation?
I don't know.
I mean, when I think about artists...
Because you're creating a product for a very specific sell.
Most art is creating a product for a specific
The
purpose.
classical art stuff, you think of Renaissance.
Painting.
It's they're all commissioned artwork. Obviously, people want to get paid for their stuff, so it seems like, hey, look, what would you want? I want a picture of me, but make me look good.
They're commissioning our company to have an artist create something custom,
right?
Versus them sending a logo that I
So
just have to recreate and make printable.
Is the bill of sale predicated on the individual creation of a piece for that person because they're an artist, or can someone sitting in their basement be an artist even though nobody ever sees their work?
So,
yes.
Well, why?
Because they're creating something that means something to them or someone.
They're their own customer.
But if nobody sees it,
they see it. The person making it sees it.
They're doing doing it for themselves, if not for someone else.
To your point of cooking, are there limitations on the medium of what can be an artist?
No, as long as it's creation.
But anything can be creation.
Yeah.
So in creation, I think about making a car. Just crank them out. They can make a car.
Yeah, but what about the people who design the car?
Right, fair enough.
That's designing. That's art.
I consider design as
Is Michael Bay art? Are his films art?
I don't know.
Sorry, are his movies art? Because they're just movies. They're not films.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Not
you're
really.
very charitable with your description of his work. I mean, even a design engineer, would you consider them artists? They have...
Engineers? Yeah, I would consider them.
But does the intent matter when defining someone as an artist or defining someone as them doing their job?
I don't know
Is the amount of expression, or if their goal is just to make money on this, does that...
I think in
cast aspersions.
can matter, but I don't think intent has to matter. I think it's really kind of like the concept of beauty. It's just in the eye of who the
Art
beholder.
is incredibly subjective.
That's what I mean.
And this is a very...
You just answered your own question.
No,
No,
wait.
The intent from the creator. You can have artists working on a Michael Bay movie. I don't think Michael Bay is an artist.
You know, sometimes I think when like people like sit and dissect novels or pieces of art and they sit there like, oh, what about this? Do you think the artist or the author or the whatever had this intent behind it? And they sit there and wonder about it. The artist or the author's, no, I wasn't really intending that at all, but sure, if it makes you happy to think that,
Okay.
go ahead.
This is kind of what bothers me about these like book clubs that review a book by just a single author.
We should have a book club.
And they're like, oh, what do you think that this guy meant in this chapter? What do you think those flowers really represented? And I'm like...
Virginity. It's always virginity.
What kind of flowers?
If someone
Death,
wrote a
death.
book, would you...
White roses?
Yeah, White Roses is dead.
Okay, so here, poetry considered art. People classically would say yes. Would a great work of fiction be considered art? People would say, well, even though there's no paintings, it would be. But in my brain, I'm like, no, art is just like a guy sculpting things and a guy making a painting. Like my definition of art is very like grunt level. Of like, this guy is an artist, he gets paid to make the sculpture, the end. And this person who's making a car, he's not an artist, he's just fulfilling requirements from some spreadsheet, the end.
He's
Like,
making something
What
beautiful.
about non-fiction authors? Are they making art?
Yeah,
no,
How so?
I don't think so.
sure they are.
They're just
You are reporting on things that happened.
There's a
How
difference
is that
between
art?
reporting and writing a novel. So, and even then, I think you'd probably be
Well, alright, so
artistic in news
their
stories, but
story is based on things that happened that they are not
what the hell
embellishing
are
on.
landscape paintings, Micah? Like, that's based
It's
on
their interpretation of what they see.
Yeah, that's the same with nonfiction, right?
Absolutely not.
Sure it is.
I mean,
There are
wait,
biases, yeah, but that biases doesn't make them an artist.
right?
Yeah, but they have to put words together on
Alex
stage.
Jones is not an artist for the lies he tells.
Well,
He's an artist because he can keep his face and not break through his lies.
just because you don't like the art doesn't mean it's not art.
Yes, it.
But what are the
What
qualifications
are
of
you
it to be
trying-
art? That's why I'm saying an artist can't be an artist unless somebody tells them they're an artist.
Isn't
The,
that
the
obvious?
person making it cannot say they're an artist because they made it. Because anyone can make anything of any medium. If there aren't requirements around what can be called an artist, then that cheapens what being an artist
I
is.
disagree. I don't think so. I think anyone can be an artist. Everyone is
Okay.
an artist.
They
Everyone
can be.
creates things.
How is that confirmed?
It's just, who cares?
Who cares?
I
Yeah.
care. I do. Because
No,
we have to
really.
draw the line somewhere.
You just, if you're a good artist, people will ask you to, they'll commission you to do things. If
So
you're
it's
a-
based on somebody else's confirmation that you're an artist.
Right, so Van Gogh would be a bad artist because no one
It's
commissioned him
not-
on anything,
well,
right?
But
you're
he
gonna
produced so
succeed.
much.
You're gonna
Right, but no one
succeed.
cared at the time
True.
because everyone thought...
And he
this
was
guy-
not an artist in his lifetime. But
Yes,
Picasso,
he was.
why was he?
Who cares? No, like he made his things. He did
Yeah,
stuff.
he
created
participated
things.
in art. That I don't think makes
He
you an
was
artist.
an artist.
Well, that was my point, is like, would you consider the person who bakes bread to be an artist?
Yes.
Okay, so would you consider the person who sweeps the streets to be an artist?
Yeah.
Would you consider anything of any transformation that's value added
Yep.
to be... Is there anything you consider not to be an artist? Because I can think of anything that has value-added transformation is not really art, it's just a
I
job.
think just people are artists. I think we're all
But does that
creators.
not cheapen the title of artist?
Hardly.
How hardly?
Because
I
if
don't-
If
every-
everyone's an
I don't
artist,
think-
then there's nothing unique about art.
There isn't anything unique about art, Micah.
This is the
There
classic...
isn't. There really isn't. There really fucking isn't.
This is the classic plot of Incredibles, the first movie. If everyone was special, then nobody is special, right? Like the concept of if everyone's an artist, it cheapens, it devalues
Yes,
it just
it
by
doesn't,
supply.
Well, as long as you don't have capes.
I don't think so.
Capes are...
Oh, so good though.
That
Disagrees.
really disagrees.
It's just extra fat
Is
if you
it-
don't need.
No.
No, you're. I'm sorry. The
The less
silhouette.
fabric, the better.
The silhouette from Batman v Superman, where he's over like the hurricane, and it's him with just this flag-like cape behind him, is a glorious image.
Why do you think? Okay, you guys. Why do you think? Because there's a multitude, and because there's a variation, that it cheapens anything?
Because there isn't an organized strata to define what is good and what is bad.
Also, oversupply would
Who
create
cares
less
what's good or-
demand.
That too.
Well, who cares?
I care.
We're humans. We're competitive by nature.
Right. I mean, like, we have to
Am
draw
I
the
not
line.
human? Am I just a lizard?
This is a two
Yeah.
dudes talking podcast with volition. No.
I am a lizard, apparently.
Welcome to Two Dudes and a Cold Blood.
Here, I don't think all art is equal, but I do think that everyone can be an artist.
How
I
then
don't
do you
think
quantify the strata?
I don't
If
think it
not all
matters.
art is equal.
I don't think it matters. Just art is just how you perceive it. If you like something, you like something. If you don't, you don't. Just because someone likes an apple doesn't mean you can. This could be the fucking juiciest fucking apple you've ever tasted.
Oh, I thought you meant the computer.
Right, Micah? No.
No, I don't know because I can't eat apples.
Okay,
Sarah.
That's what I mean. You can't fucking eat apples, so it's meaningless to you. It
For
is
the-
meaningless to you.
The listeners, I just want everyone to know that Micah can't eat apples.
I think my proclamation was clear enough. Thanks, Phil.
So
You're welcome.
So, I can find this delicious Honeycrisp made in Minnesota apple, the most delicious apple in the world. But to you, it is useless.
No, it's a mutant
Garbage.
hybrid that should not exist in nature.
See?
There's also not
Subjective and no one cares.
Technically-
It doesn't matter.
useless.
Someone finds joy in it.
Because-
And you know what? If you're the only person who finds joy in it, that's still art to you.
No, technically it's not useless to Micah because you could trade it in for goods or services.
Absolutely.
Someone who likes
I'm banking on you telling me that Honeycrisp is great for me to sell it to Phil to get things I can eat, like potatoes.
potatoes.
I love
too.
potatoes too. Potatoes transcend art.
And then I sell the potatoes to you for a profit on the apples you sold me. See, that's capitalism.
I also
But
think
not art.
no. I honestly think that art is kind of a strange, sludgy byproduct of just.
It's appreciation. For
Well, no. It has like such.
Mm.
It has this very unique status in society where it is both the apex of what we want, but also the antithesis of what we want because it spans to good and bad all the time at the same time.
Yeah.
Right.
And I feel there should be more of a qualitative data set in order to gauge it on.
Well,
No.
it should be because I don't want to talk about it right now because it's basically blending into what I wanted to discuss later. But the idea that art transcends money in many ways, and maybe because it is a supply and demand issue, but something like, look, what is the point of this? Who cares? Why am I here? What's the purpose? Hey, look, that is a really cool apple. There's things that are beyond just the basic needs that people have, like food and shelter. And if you talk about someone who's self-actualized, art is one of the things that are really high up there as far as what is it that you really want to do? What is it really that's meaningful? And children don't really care about being money man. Like that's kind of a lame thing. Adults are different. So what do they really care about is something more wholesome, something more along the lines of art. But then the more you try to box it in and define it, the more I get angry. Because when you say something like, oh, it's everyone has it and everyone's an artist, I'm like, no, that's clearly bullshit. Because
Everyone's an artist, just not everyone's good at it.
but like, okay, baking bread
Everyone
or
breathes, but some people are just
But if you
naturally
have-
better at
or
it.
the person
But if
who's
you have it where backs are able to call themselves artists, that cheapens the skill of the good artists.
right. And
Sure, it gives them something to compare themselves to, where, look at this bad artist, but if any Tom, Dick, or Jane can say they're an artist, then it really draws back in our society of who the good artists are. I'm sure there were other artists in the Renaissance age that probably made gorgeous paintings, but they didn't have the name recognition.
Or the personality to sell their shit.
True. There is a certain amount of salesmanship that is required in it.
You have
I'm gonna cite you, tomato can soup guy.
Ooh.
Whatever, he's a shit artist.
So-
I don't care.
So funny story.
Pop artists.
Funny story that comes along with this. I think it was there's like a Hmong school I think that is somewhere nearby here, and this gal came in to our company, and the kids wanted to ask the artist some questions because they were interested in art and maybe going to art school, and they asked me for advice. And it's silly because I didn't go to art school and I went to college.
Your
but
job title is artist.
But I was a production artist, and I think I gave them pretty good advice. I said, learn the programs for the art you want to do or the stuff you want to create, but market yourself. Focus on creating a good portfolio because you need to sell yourself. It's not just your art.
One of the things that I've heard on other media is that there's no excuse for people who are interested in art. Like, would you consider podcasting or being
For creating something.
Right.
Technically, we're
Yep.
artists.
See?
So
Ha!
there's
I
no
said technically.
Technically.
There's no excuse not to have something demoed or already try to be making your own way through the environment that we live in. Maybe back in the 80s and 90s, it's hard to get a camera, and it's hard to be able to get software, or it's hard to be able to even if you had those things to distribute your work of art. But now that stuff is really easily accessible. So the only question is, why aren't you already doing it? And the answer to that is, fuck you, that's my fault.
I mean, our experience through our lifetimes from growing up in the 90s when CDs became prevalent and how that art was so much more easy to digest over the cassettes of the 80s into the Napster age where we could download individual songs, not even the whole album, just the specific songs we liked, and how that affects the art of music making, where that in popular culture hyperbolized the need for the single, where you had a lot of one-hit wonders in the 70s and 80s that then kind of like flittered away, but you just had something new to go on. Now it's flavor of the week, but in order to sustain a career, you always need that single to keep going. And
that changed the landscape of how music was going to be delivered and produced, and what the focus and energy was going to be on, and what type of bands had their strategy on trying to break into the big markets. It's money and art is always going to be hand in hand, of course. Yeah. Someone has to commission it, someone has to create it.
But some people just gonna throw their art out there.
True.
Some people are just gonna create.
And been a constant for a long time.
Yep. And if it's good, people and they have the ability to, like YouTube or whatever, like they have a...
I'll posit this and have it where it's art on a single plane medium, the classic painter artist. Name a famous artist that's globally known, not named Banksy.
Van Gogh.
That's alive and producing work.
Painter.
Of a single medium, a sculptor can be fine, but name an internationally known, famous, non-musician, non-filmmaker artist in a static medium.
Non-musician, non-film. So not a singer,
Yeah, static. So sculptor, painter.
Who's alive.
And
not an author, I take it?
Not
an author.
Yeah, even products. Like Stephen King is an artist.
So really just painting or sculpture really is what you're limiting me to.
Sure. What we classically think of as an artist.
I don't think I have the same classical thinking as you do, but we'll go with painting and sculpture, and I can't. So those aren't my mediums. I don't sculpt and I don't paint. I don't care. In fact, I had an opportunity to take a history of art or something like that, art history, and I'm like, nope. That sounds awful and boring. No thanks.
I did take that class. It was.
So did I.
Was it boring?
Good.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, God, maybe I regret that. Okay,
well, I mean, it's a very Jeopardy. It's Jeopardy level of you're not deep diving into Vermeer's work.
I needed
his
that
faces.
and music theory, and I'm like, I'd take the art history class, but I needed that minor or something.
Which that's a different topic about like how effective college curriculums are. Anyway.
So lame. Anyway.
But there is no... You have Andy Warhol and you have Jackson Pollock that in the 60s and 70s when they were artists were acknowledged and accepted for their art on a national scale. You don't have that anymore because there is this flood of quote-unquote artists. So who are the gatekeepers? What
Who cares?
Well, we kind of care because it's...
So anyone can make a movie now.
Yeah.
Anyone can make music now.
Yeah.
And as big of bullshit as they are, we still have an Oscars and a Grammy. We have some sort of...
I don't give a shit. I don't even watch those.
That's fine. But we have a regulated quote-unquote authority.
It's just a bunch of backslapping and
Well,
like,
yeah.
look
And
how good we are.
And they're corrupt
so
as shit.
Cool.
But
exactly. It doesn't matter.
No, it does, because it's
Rewards
still...
are
it gives a
garbage.
qualification
Fucking
of something to aim for.
No.
It gives parameters
You know
on
what?
what
I
art
think,
is.
okay, maybe this is just me because I'm weird, but like I think reward shows like the Grammys and the Emmys and all that stupid, like it's just
It's
stupid.
not just you.
It's garbage. It's like,
Yeah.
oh look, you did a thing, good job, keep doing it. I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's people in the industry. They're just
it's-
jerk-off sessions.
Exactly. That's
They're
exactly
circle
what it is.
But it gives authority to people that aren't in the know of things they should pay attention to. And that builds the respectability of
To the
that
people
as
who
an
care.
art form.
To the people who care.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't give a shit about any of
That's
that.
fine. A lot of people look at this won 8 Oscars, but I'm probably going to watch that.
Right. No, well, look...
That's you!
Yes.
That's you!
Lizard being.
No, look, that's not quite fair, because as much as people like to...
Opinion valid? Fuck you.
I'm saying it only applies to you. It doesn't apply to a broader sense.
But also...
But what authority?
I mean, like, Emmys, Oscars, and those type of people or organizations that host these type of parties that are odd, I'm not going to disagree.
Jerk-off session.
but they still have a value. They're providing a free service of a filter.
It's not free.
No,
It's not something you're paying for.
Right.
It's true.
In
Not
addition
watching
to that, you could also just get the cliff notes about who won and who lost and by how many predictions. But
if I care.
one particular year was a bad year and they made a wrong call. But over like the trend line of it, you can see that they're still making some pretty good calls about what is good and what is bad. And the issue about
Fair.
where, well, you know, why do we have a need of this service to begin with? Is because there's only so much crap that can go through a pipe into the consciousness of the individual consumer. It's the same problem with being inundated by having a choice of 10,000 different toothpastes.
And only 10 are really good.
And only 10 are good. And you take that consumer and you plop them into a grocery store or whatever they do to get their stuff, and they're paralyzed by choice. It's too much information. Somebody out there needs to curate it. So the problem is when everyone says that they're an artist, it's the same problem if there's 10,000 types of toothpaste. Which ones are really good, which ones are not? I don't have the time to sit down and figure this out. So
thank you, Google reviews.
Anyone who
but
says
that's
that
also a different level of authority because you're putting your discretion into the hands of other people that you are assuming have a great understanding of.
Plus, it's free.
But also, somebody will give Birdemic 5 stars, and no one should give Birdemic a 5-star review.
Well, the idea is that trend lines again, trend lines. Like you're gonna get some sour ones,
yes,
but you're gonna get
you
some
gotta read
sweet
the
ones
review
too.
and look at that
But also,
negative review and be like, okay, was this actually a review of the product, or was this a review of the shipping method?
But
or
would
was
you
this
rather-
a review of, you know?
which would you give more credibility to? Jack from Ohio or Steven Johnson, writer from the LA Times that reviews movies? Who has more authority in that situation?
The person who has skin in the game. The person who has to have a reputable experience, and not only that, but needs to keep that reputation alive because it's their job. You can't just be
Fair.
bought
That isn't
out.
an actual journalist, I just made up a name. But say Siskel and Ebert.
He exists. Look it up.
I'm sure there's someone of the name that I said that I've already forgotten that does exist.
Steve something.
But it's who are the gatekeepers, because gatekeepers are needed to maintain a sense of quality to juxtapose with any piece of art. Because if anyone can produce art, and anyone can call themselves an artist, but there's no one to objectively rate their art, then there's no point in being an artist.
I just don't agree. I think anyone and everyone is an artist, and I think it's just a matter of if you can be successful. That's
Based on what gatekeeping?
what I
Who
mean.
is judging
The
what is
gatekeeping
successful?
The gatekeeping is what is making making people successful, which is unfortunate. Don't shake your fists at me or your
They were
hands,
fists, they were open palms.
open palms at me, whatever. With your Italian gesticulating.
Goodbye. Sorry, Italy.
Like everyone's an artist, and thinking there's this.
Everyone can be an artist. Everyone can participate in art, but to be an artist has different qualifications.
No, I think just to be successful as an artist.
But is that not the job title of artist then?
As a job title?
A title as artist.
But-
That requires you to be successful at it. Van Gogh wasn't an artist in life. His art was amazing, but it wasn't appreciated by his contemporaries.
Success in the sense of like being able to support yourself and live, or success in the fact that you made whoever you made that thing for happy. When your kid made me that adorable fucking nighttime thing that on cardboard and he labeled it night, oh, it was so cute. Like
Is that art?
It is. To me, I think that was a cute, adorable, brilliant piece of art. Obviously, it's not going to belong in the Smithsonian,
so
but
what are the qualifications for objective art?
objective art? Well,
No.
who's the one who's judging?
It's objective.
That's what I mean. Who's the one that's judging?
It is
All of-
general consensus that this is art.
All of
Not Michael
humanity.
Bay. Michael Bay can subjectively be art, but his movies are not art.
Art's just too
What
broad.
are the qualifications for objective art?
No, it's too broad.
This kind of reminds me of the comment that Ebert had made that video games is not art. But you can hire 1,000 artists, obviously, graphic designers and modelers, and using the latest engines to be able to make cinematic level kind of storytelling, but still not art to him because it's. And I didn't really quite understand his perspective.
I mean, I feel video games are, to our social understanding, one of the highest forms of art.
Yeah, just like books.
It's interactive storytelling, granted with limitations, but the best games, when you look back with the 40 years of gaming, the best games have two qualities: great playability or an interactive story.
But my question here is like, at that time, a lot of people were really upset with it. Oh, of course
When
it's
was
art. This is like 2012 or something like that. It's quite a while ago.
He's late to that criticism game.
But like a lot of these video gamers at the time were very upset. Like, oh, of course it's going to be. And they're trying to convince him that this is art. And I thought that argument was really silly. Like, why do you care that this guy who rates movies considers your hobby as not art?
Who cares if he's
who
an
gives
authority?
a shit?
If you find it,
Right.
If you personally find it engaging and inspiring, it's art to you. Who cares what anyone else thinks?
But
That's
people
what art
were
is.
really pissed off. People are like,
Of
you
course they are.
invalidate my experience with this because you said something bad about it and I like it.
And that's their own problem. If you're gonna let other people be like, oh, this is when you have like people in the Rotten Tomatoes or Grammys or whatever saying this is great, this is garbage, but I liked that garbage, so fuck you.
And
Fuck you, I enjoyed this garbage.
And if you, dear listener, enjoyed this garbage, please consider helping us out on Patreon. And I like to consider myself an artist after this podcast.
You know what? You all can consider yourselves artists after this podcast.
No, you absolutely cannot. There
Micah's
needs to be some
wrong.
sort of qualification for you to be.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.